Good morning to you. This is Jim Feig, your master photographer, coming from South Bridge Street Live with my thought for today. Notice the photo I've got up on the wall today. That's an old car, old photo. This car has seen better days. It's long past its prime. It's resting and rusting away out in a field somewhere between Victoria and Houston. I think it was right after Lake Texana where I found this. I found it a couple years ago. I'm not sure it's still there. Anyone recognize what kind of car that is? It's not a usual one. That's a 1951 Studebaker. They don't make Studebakers anymore. They haven't made them since about the 1960s. But this car has a special meaning to me. My first car was a 1950 vintage Studebaker. First car I ever owned. Oh, it was quite a stylish one. Had the bullet nose, to see the bullet nose there, something like this. And I bought that first car. It was over 65 years ago now. When I bought it, it was used, but only 2 or 3 years old, and I paid all of $1,000 for it. Almost brand new. It had low mileage on it. It was a convertible. It was turquoise in color. Had red leather seats, and I was about 20 years old, so I was riding in style. Oh, you learn much from your first car. You learn the normal things. You learn to stop at stop signs and red lights. Sooner or later, you know you shouldn't speed, and you should signal your turns. You quickly find out that you need to put gasoline in it to make it go. And if you want it to really look good, you need to wash it and wax it and polish it. Take some elbow grease, or did back then anyway. Someone tells you that if you want it to last, you better change the oil in it, so you start doing that. And gee, is another quick lesson you learn. You learn that if you spin your wheels a lot, the tires wear out. And then you learn that tires can be expensive when you have to replace them. And that flat tires need to be changed. And you quickly learn that if you don't watch where you're going, if you don't watch the road map, you'll get lost, physically and literally and mentally. You learn to be courteous to other drivers on the road, I hope. And one important thing that you better not forget: don't assume you have the right of way, even when you do. Oh, we could go on, but you get the idea. Owning a car teaches you responsibilities. It was back in the 1950s when I bought that car, a quiet, more peaceful time. We didn't even have an interstate highway then. If you wanted to travel any distance, you had to go through every little village and town and hamlet along the way, and maybe even a big city or two. So travel was at a slower pace. Life was less hectic. We stopped and we watched the scenery along the way many times. Oh, for a young 20-year-old, that first car gave you more freedom, too. Oh, boy, I'll tell you. You could suddenly go where you wanted to go, when you wanted to go. You didn't have to wait until someone else was going that way. You didn't have to get out there and try to thumb a ride, although that was a pretty good way to travel back in the 50s. You've got a newfound freedom to your life. You could do your own thing now, whatever that might be. Opportunities for social life also changed. In the 1950s, I lived in the country, about 7 miles from the closest town, which had a population of 3,500 people. Lots of excitement for a 20-year-old kid out there. But gee, with the car, Chicago was only a couple hours away and South Bend was even closer. Your size of your world suddenly changed. The car also brought on responsibilities. You didn't go very far without some gasoline in the tank. And you needed to maintain the car in running shape and fix it when it broke. You needed to also consider others as you drove down the busy roads. I kept that car for several years. In fact, I kept it until I joined the Air Force. One couldn't afford a car very well on $150 a month plus room and board. And you really didn't need a car, especially in places like Korea, so I sold it. Hated to see it go. It was a nice car. I've owned other cars since the Studebaker. I don't even remember them all. There have been a lot of them. But your first car, it's always something special. And you learn a lot about life when you get that first car. So go out, think about your first car. If you haven't bought one yet, go out and buy one. They're nice to have. Anyway, enjoy life. This is Jim Feig coming to you from South Bridge Street Live. We'll see you again. Thank you.